peace and love. I told you don't.
Hand behind your back. Hand behind your back.
Welcome back, everybody. In this episode, we're going to be breaking down a controversial video that comes out of Florida that a lot of people are raising questions about. Well, we're here to break it down for you. This is the Shots Fired podcast. I'm Kyle Schoberg, and this is Mark Redledge.
All right, this wild video comes out of Charlotte County, Florida. On October 23rd, 2024, deputies were dispatched to a landlord-tenant dispute. When deputies arrived, everything took an absolute turn for the worst. Let's watch this body cam, and we're going to break it down.
All right, we're about to go 10-15 on him. We're going to have a problem. He's a sovereign citizen and pretty big dude, so we could just kind of make your way this way, please. Hey, come here. Come here. Elroy.
That's not my name.
It is.
No, it's not.
It is. You got a warrant for your.
Do you know?
You got a warrant for your arrest.
Listen. Calm down.
No one's calming.
Don't listen to that man. Take off your glasses.
What is your name?
It's okay.
What's your name?
Take off. I told you, it's Ben Day.
It's not Ben Day. I got your picture pulled up, man.
That is
You're
not
Elroy.
That is not me.
Okay,
how are you going to tell me who I am?
I got proof. I got your picture.
That's proof?
I have your
bullshit.
ID. I have your ID.
That's bullshit. You got bullshit in your hands. In your eye,
Bro,
your car.
Calm down.
You're on my land. You're telling me to calm down?
You've got a warrant for your arrest.
I've been here peacefully making things happen in my world, in my space. I'm allowed to do that. I haven't troubled anyone. There's been no crime.
Here's what's going to happen.
There's no crime. It's a civil matter, and I said leave. That's all that matters.
Put your hands behind your back.
Listen, it's a civil matter.
402 Central, give me trouble.
I am calm, and it's not about to be. It's not about to be. I want to stay calm. I want to stay calm.
If you fail to comply.
If you fail to comply to what I just said, I want to stay calm. If you fail to comply with what I just said,
put your hands behind your back.
Listen, I don't take orders from you. Listen, do not touch me.
You're about to get tased.
For what?
You have a warrant for your arrest.
I do not have a warrant.
Put your hands behind your back.
I am Ben Day.
Okay.
Who's the warrant for?
For you.
For who?
For you.
Who's who? Who's you?
Listen.
Who's you?
Put your hands behind your back.
I am Ben Day. Do you hear what I said?
Do you have an ID?
I am Ben Day. I'm on my property. I'm not operating commerce.
Do you have an ID?
Is it commerce?
I don't know what that is.
You're about to get tased. I'm
Really?
not. Yeah.
You're about to tase me on my land.
I will. I will.
You will do that.
I
What's your
will
name?
100% do it.
Slender.
That's correct.
You will tase
Put your
a
hands
peaceful
behind your
man on his land.
Can we make this peaceful?
It is peaceful. Don't you feel the peace?
No, you're yelling right now.
Okay. Okay. I forgot.
If we are mistaken,
You're mistaken?
if we are mistaken,
If you're mistaken.
we can get this all cleared out.
I am Ben Day.
Right.
That's
Let's-
what it
okay,
That's what it is. That's what it is.
what's your
That's
date of
all.
birth?
You're looking for who?
What's your date of
Who are
birth?
you looking for?
What is your date of birth?
Who are you looking for? Who are you looking for?
Okay, you're matching.
Who are you looking for?
Elroy.
Okay, you're matching.
You're not
Elroy
Elroy?
doesn't live here.
Okay. Where does Elroy live?
I don't know. Go ask him.
Because Elroy's
Go
address.
ask him.
Elroy's address is here.
Go ask him. Go ask him.
Put your hands behind your back.
Go ask Elroy.
Put your hands behind your back.
Go ask Elroy.
I'm going to tell you one more time. Put your hands behind your back.
I'm not matching anything. This is my estate.
Right, but keep this peacefully.
I am being peaceful. I have no weapons on me, and I told you that. I'm allowed to raise my voice. That's not against the law. That's what decibel is it that I need to go past? What decibel is it not peaceful anymore? Tell me that.
Elroy, put your hands
Do not
behind
touch me.
Put your hands
Hey,
behind your
do
back.
not touch me.
Put your hands behind
Do
your
not
back.
touch me. I'm telling you, do not touch me.
I'm going to tase you.
You tase me, it's gonna get hot in this bitch. And I'm telling you, it's gonna get hot. I'm telling you, it's gonna get hot. I don't care. Go ahead.
I'm going to tase you.
All right.
Put your hands behind your back.
Listen.
Put your hands behind your back.
Go ahead and do what you gotta do. Go ahead. Don't touch me though. You're not allowed to touch me.
Back up.
Maintain 1 arm distance from me for your own safety. and
Taser,
mine.
taser, taser.
Elroy, hey.
Tase him. Tase him.
Get on the ground. Just get on the ground, please.
OC, OC. Get on the ground.
I gave you everything, and this is how you treat me.
On the ground, please.
I gave you everything.
On
and this is
the
how you treat
ground.
me. I gave you everything. Don't touch me.
Stay on the ground.
Do not touch me. If you touch me, you're gonna see something you don't want to see.
Elroy, come on.
Get on the ground.
Come on.
For your safety.
Get on the ground.
Get on the
I'm
ground.
telling you.
Let's make this peaceful.
If this is peace and love. This is peace and love.
Come on, Elroy.
This is peace and love.
Get on the ground.
Peace and love.
Just get on the ground.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
Don't touch me.
Elroy, come on.
I'm not Elroy.
What is your name again?
I'm Benday.
Benday, then put your hands behind your back.
On your back.
I'm not getting my hands behind my back. This is my land. And do not shoot me with that shit again.
Then just listen.
Go ahead and hit me with that and let it bend. And then you'll see.
Back up.
Hit me with that and
Back
bend it.
up.
It's right here. It's okay.
Back up.
Hit me right here.
Benday.
Hit me. I'm
Bro,
giving you
back
permission.
up.
I'm giving you permission to show you so you can see.
Well, where is it?
Why are you listening to this man?
He's trying to help you.
Why are you listening to this man?
He's trying to help you.
Why are you listening to this man?
He's trying to help.
Get on the ground.
I'm not getting on the ground. I'm not getting
They're
on
on
the
the
ground.
they're on the round.
Take your gun out and shoot me.
I'm not gonna shoot you.
No, so you can see.
I don't want to shoot you.
So you can see.
I don't want to shoot you.
Do not touch me.
Put your hands behind your back.
It's a civil matter, and I told you that.
And now we're trying to figure something else out.
Hey, do not go on my grass. Get off my grass. Get off my grass. Tell him to get off my grass.
He's been tased twice and sprayed.
Tell him to get off my
He's
grass.
been tased.
I've been tased.
Get on the ground.
I told you don't.
Get on the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
Get him. Get him. Fucking tease me, motherfucker.
All right.
Yeah,
Ease up. Ease up.
No, please. No. I'm bad. Get off.
Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Stay down. Stay down.
I'm bad.
You're gonna get shot, motherfucker. I'm telling you. You're gonna get fucking shot.
Not gonna work.
Get on the ground.
It's not gonna work. You're incompetent.
Get on the ground. What?
If you shoot him, you are
Not lethal. Not right now.
murder him.
Get on the
No one's gonna get murdered.
We don't want to hurt you. Get on the ground.
Get on the ground.
Get on the fucking ground.
That's murder.
Get on the ground.
That's murder.
Hey, shut up!
That is murder. That is murder.
Get on the ground.
That's my brother.
Benday, come on.
It's a civil matter.
Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
Y'all assault him for no reason.
Get on the
That's what I
ground.
was looking for. This guy, he's a bad actor.
Get on the ground.
Get on the ground.
Come on, Benday. Just get on the ground. What is
Or
your
two,
problem?
K9.
Get on the ground.
Get your hand off your gun. He's not on.
Get on the ground.
Your ETA.
Get your hand off your gun.
Benday, come on, man.
You're incompetent. 11 minutes. Get your hand off your gun. He's not on.
402 Central to update. We're still attempting to take into custody, trying to avoid lethal at this point. Central, are you going less lethal? This is a beanbag. This is a beanbag. You don't want this. Trust me.
All right, you know what? Listen.
Get on the ground. You don't want this.
Get on the ground.
You'll get water later. You get water later. You can get on the ground now. Palmer, move.
T62667, Sarge.
Get on the ground. You're going to be beanbagged if you don't get on the ground.
Get on the fucking ground.
T62667. I'm recording all this.
Come on, Benday.
Yeah.
I don't know he's bent down.
Who are you looking for?
Get on the ground now.
Who are you looking for?
Get on the ground. You, Elroy.
I'm not Elroy.
Then get on the ground. We can sort it out.
No weapon.
But you're going to be handcuffed in the meantime.
Then lethal.
He got a gun in his hand.
He's got a gun in his fucking hand. That's less than lethal. Calm down. He's got a gun in his fucking hand right there.
As soon as he stands up and I don't have a clear shot of his head, I'm going to give him
667.
Get on the ground.
I'm telling you right now.
Get on the ground.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to take it.
Less lethal, less lethal, less lethal. Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
Times 2.
Get on the ground.
I know.
Get on the fucking ground, dude. The next thing.
Less lethal,
I
less
don't know if I
lethal,
can
less
take
lethal.
it.
Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
Times 2.
Come on, big man.
Get on the ground.
I know.
Get on the fucking ground, dude. The next thing.
Come on, face this way, deep breath. Deep, no, me.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm good.
I know, deep breath. I want to hear deep breaths. Like that, one more, come on. No, you're clearing up, come on.
I just shot him.
Come on.
It's okay, look at me. It's okay.
He was coming right at me.
I got you.
I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that.
No choice.
It's okay. You're fine. You're fine. Come on.
Oh, no.
You're fine. Alex, I got you. Come on, my boy. I got you.
You're fine.
All right, so we just watched the video. It's a little bit lengthy, but this is wild. There's a lot of things that went wrong here, and we're going to point it all out to you. So let's start from the beginning. The deputies go to a landlord-tenant type of disturbance in the call. Just to break that down for people who don't know, we often get these calls in law enforcement where usually it's a civil issue. Two people may live together. Maybe someone's not paying rent. You know, who knows? I mean, it could be a whole gamut of different things, but generally speaking, those are calls you can go there, somewhat keep the peace, try to offer some resources or guidance in how to deal with whatever issues that they're having with each other. But at the end of the day, most of the time, these are just civil issues between two people residing in the same house. And in this case, everything took a turn for the worse when the deputies identified the gentleman who calls the police, who's in the video, ID'd him as Elroy Clarke. They determined that he has a warrant for his arrest. That's when everything kind of took a turn for the worse when they try to take him into custody. They are sitting in the car. One of the deputies gets on the radio, asks for an additional resources because they say this guy's a sovereign citizen. He's a big guy, and he feels like things are not going to go well.
Well, I think that's a good factor in this is that deputy knows that it's going to be a problem. He's actually asking for additional resources for them to respond. He's telling him he's a sovereign citizen. And historically, sovereign citizens do not comply or they don't believe that in the Constitution, in the laws, and that the land is theirs. And generally, when you encounter someone, a sovereign citizen, they don't believe they can be arrested. And generally, it's a fight. So I think this deputy knows that, and he's asking for more help. But the problem is that they're not waiting for help. And this is a very large man.
Yeah, no, so let's talk about that real quick, because usually when we always say that, we get people in the comments who say, well, I work in a rural area, and sometimes it takes a long time for cover to get there. So let's not discount that out. They are a sheriff's department, but if you're asking for more assistance, he's not doing anything at that point in time because he's none the wiser that they know that he has a warrant. They could have sat out there for, I don't know, at least a period of time and just chatted with the guy to buy time for more deputies to show up. But in this case, so they don't. They walk up to him and they tell him, they call him by his name, first of all. He without even saying anything, he just calls him out by Elroy. And I think that took him off guard because he was kind of like, who are you talking to?
Yeah.
So he tried to call him out. Then the guy kept saying, no, my name was, I think he says like Ben Day or.
Sounds like Ben Day.
Yeah. So he's telling him, hey, that's not my name. This is who I am. He doesn't have ID on him, so they can't confirm with him right then and there. But the deputies did pull him up in their computer system and said, hey, we have a photo of you. So again, for the general public, we do have the ability to pull, DMV photos, all of those things under your name. And the deputy was saying, hey, you match the photo and name of the person that is associated with this house. So
there's also other red flags too. The initial conversation with those one deputy and I'll just say Ben Day because that's what he keeps referring to himself as, is very odd. I mean, you can tell based on what he's saying, something isn't right. Like just the behavior is off. It's enough to raise flags of like, okay, this person might be having some type of a mental episode. Something's going on. I would use even more caution with that.
So they keep telling the guy that he's got a warrant for his arrest and that he's under arrest essentially. Well, that's the flip switched in Elroy or Ben Day as he calls himself. But that's when he's like not having it. And when they kept telling him, hey, you're under arrest, get on the ground, turn around. Then they pull out their taser. They're saying, hey, we're going to tase you. I mean, they must have told them, multiple times, giving him commands to get down. So I guess in this scenario, you've already shown your hand, right? You've already told the dude you know who he is. You already told him he's got a warrant, and you've already told him that he's going to go to jail. He's not complying with you. He's a bigger guy.
He is. He's going to cause a fight. Like a guy that size, I would be waiting for backup.
But they don't. So they're there. They're like already in that situation. And so I think the one deputy tries to tase him and it's ineffective. And you got to, when we're talking about tasing somebody, you got to talk about distance. Two probes have to make contact with the older version taser. We actually recently just did an episode with the CEO of Axon, Rick Smith, who highlighted their new Taser 10, which gives you 10 different shots to get on target. In the older version models of the taser, you get one shot and with two probes that come out, and they both have to make contact so that it's affecting the central nervous system. If you only have one probe that makes contact, the other one doesn't, it's not going to be 100% effective. So in this case, you can even tell by the sound of the taser that it was not a good contact and it was ineffective just by the clicking noise of it. I think what cops really failed to understand is when you use your taser and let's say it was effective, that is your opportunity to go hands-on and grab somebody into custody. It's an automatic 5 seconds. When you pull that trigger, it's 5 seconds. That buys you the time to go hands-on. It does not affect you. It doesn't cause you to be tased or anything as long as you don't touch in between the two probes. So if the one deputy had the opportunity to grab his arms, tackle him to the ground, whatever. In this case, the taser was ineffective. Then the other deputy tries to also tase him. That also doesn't work.
But they didn't have a plan. And I think it may have been effective if they would have discussed a plan, especially someone this size saying, hey, if he doesn't comply on the command of taser, which generally, if you're tasing someone and you're using the terms, which he did, which he used it appropriately, taser, or I think he said taser.
He did. He yelled out taser.
Then the other officers should immediately be making that detention or apprehension and actually handcuffing him. And no one did in this case.
Yeah,
they just kind of stood around and watched.
So the reason we have to say taser is you don't want sympathetic fire because it does sound, it's not as loud as a gunshot, but I mean, it does make a popping sound. And if another officer's on scene and doesn't realize you're shooting a taser, they don't want sympathetic fire with a real firearm. So that's why they yell out taser or less lethal. But going back, they give this guy so many warnings. I mean, I don't know, like what is your take on, if I tell somebody, hey dude, you're under arrest, like you're under arrest flat out. If you don't comply, force will be used against you. And that's the end of the story. Like you've already told him they're under arrest. You're telling him, hey, if you don't comply, force will be used against you. If they still don't go with the program, like how many times are you going to sit there and tell somebody that you're going to use force against them? And then they're questioning you. And then you're literally having an argument or some type of dialogue back and forth about, you're going to shoot me? Yeah, I'm going to shoot you with this. It's too much.
I think they rushed it by getting out, saying that they're going to arrest him and telling him that he's got a warrant and immediately going to, okay, you're going to get tased. And you're right. You tell somebody politely like, hey, you're under arrest, put your hands behind your back. You give them an opportunity. And when they don't comply, then you tell them, okay, you try some. And in this case, it was clear nothing was going to work. He was made it very clear he was not going to be arrested. So then you tell him you're going to use less lethal and you're going to tase him. And then he says no, or I don't care, whatever it is, then you tase him. Like once you create a plan, we talk about it with SIPA, contain, identify, plan, and act. Once you create that plan and you set that in motion, you continue that motion. You continuously evaluate, but you set the plan in motion. And they still didn't. And they just kept talking and going around. And they ended up circling him at one point.
Yeah, I think they were giving him too much time to actually amp himself up. But so now let's talk about, okay, so the tasing doesn't work. One of the deputies transitions to his OC spray.
Yeah.
Which is another tool on your duty belt. I'm going to be honest. I'm not a fan of OC spray just because I personally have not seen it be effective. And generally speaking, when you do use it, you might be affected by it. If the wind's blowing, it could blow in your face. I mean, I don't know. I just am not a huge fan of it.
I'm not a fan either. Not at all.
But when you're talking about using OC and a taser, I mean, that's where things become super problematic because you're now interjecting a flammable liquid onto somebody with the use of an electric current, which could cause someone to catch fire, which there's plenty of videos out there where people have been OC'd and then followed up with a taser and it's caught them on fire.
So you're saying it's okay to tase first, then OC, but once you OC, you cannot go back to taser.
Yeah, once you've deployed pepper spray or OC on somebody, I mean, you're not supposed to be following that up with a taser for the electrical current. I mean, it's combustible. It'll catch you on fire.
Well, they did in this case. Luckily, he didn't catch fire.
So the OC doesn't work. They then try to tase him multiple times again. There's actually one point where the taser does work and you actually, and I think it was when the other deputy showed up on scene, but he gets a full body lockup and there were 3 deputies on scene now and they still did not take that opportunity to grab him, which is what I just said before. That is what it's intended to do.
Well, at one point when he was on the ground, one looked like he did, kind of got him, and then almost did like a somersault. They just didn't have any capability to physically control him. There's no plan, no discussion to physically grab this person.
Yeah, I think that's, now you're talking about, I feel like the deputies were uncertain or they were not confident in their maybe ground fighting skills or going hands-on with this guy and maybe afraid to be in an actual physical confrontation, because with this guy, it's going to be a physical confrontation. More often times than not, people are resisting you. They're resisting you to try to get away. In this case, and in some cases, people will actively fight you, right? So it's rare. Not everybody's doing that all the time. Usually people are resisting you to try to get away. But in this scenario, like, it's going to be a fight regardless. Like, this dude is going to fight you. When he is on the ground, you have 2 deputies that are standing around. They're not doing anything. One deputy was trying to control him on the ground, and then they're yelling at him to get off. They're still trying to tase him. He's drive stunning him. So when you see the taser go, pushing that into his back, that's what we call a drive stun. It's not as effective as the 2 probes making contact. It's more of a pain compliance technique, but that obviously clearly wasn't working. But the fact that he was on the ground and they didn't take that opportunity to jump on top of him. We're friends with Jay Wadsworth over at EF Combatives, and they literally talk about, like, train this stuff to the nth degree, because this is exactly why. Like, if you have ground fighting skills, I'm not going to say wouldn't always not happen, but you're highly likely to reduce this type of incident, a lethal encounter happening.
Yeah.
Had these guys known with 3 cops on one guy, like, how to effectively control somebody on the ground.
Well, you mentioned that it seemed like they didn't have a lot of confidence. And initially, it looked like they had confidence when they got out of their car. Like, hey, you have a warrant, you're under arrest, put your hands behind your back. But the longer and more time went by, I think they all kind of started getting scared, because you can tell on their mannerisms, the way they're talking, like moving around, like nobody wanted to do anything. No one wanted to initiate that initial contact until it happened. Then it was like, oh my gosh, like, what do we do? There's just a lot of problems with this.
Yeah, and one of those deputies pulls out an ASP, which is that flimsy little baton thing. I mean, they refer to it as a baton in here, but it's not. I mean, it's not a baton. It's like a little, I don't know. I mean, I have never seen those things be successful with anything. I'm not sure what they're exactly good for, but you're certainly not going to effect an arrest with that little flimsy baton that he
not against somebody like that.
Yeah,
not against someone that size. It's going to be a huge fight.
Yeah, really, when you're pulling something like that out, like, you're now just like you're just bringing another weapon to the fight. Like, I think he actually drops the thing. So I mean, had the suspect picked it up, could be problematic, obviously. But the more stuff you're bringing out and you end up losing control of, like, that person now has access to that. So that is something to consider. I mean, the more tools you bring out, you're bringing another weapon to the fight.
And I think at this point, he's been tased, OC'd or pepper sprayed, and tased again, and gets up, and it's not effective. And then they introduce the less lethal shotgun, and that's not effective. And I think at this point, they need to recognize that this is not going well. He's resisting all their less lethal options. They need, in my opinion, they need to regroup and create an actual plan, because there has been no real plan.
Yeah.
And then from that, initiate. And there's many opportunities, and you can see this, where they're actually just circling him, which creates crossfire issues all around. And one officer is actually, the one with the less lethal shotgun, actually says to the other officer, hey, move. Like,
tells
he's
him
recognizing
to get out of the way.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think at some point you can create a plan or a distraction where someone could come up from behind and grab him from behind and pull him down. There's no plan at this point. There never was.
And when you see the deputy shooting him with the beanbag shotgun, I mean, look, I've seen those things not be effective plenty of times when deploying them. You know, if someone's high on drugs, alcohol, like you name it, they're not always effective. There are other tools out there, which I think are more effective. We use a 40 mil now. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a cluster, chaotic situation at this point. And now this dude is really amped up. Now there's 4 deputies on scene. The one deputy actually pulls out his firearm, and they're like talking about shooting this guy. And at this point, he's still just standing there. I know he's completely resisted all of their other less lethal options, but now it almost seems like they don't know what else to do. And so I think he just pulls out his gun and he threatens to shoot the guy. And they've resorted to a lethal encounter. Well,
one officer even says this. Doesn't he say like this is not?
Yeah, he goes,
lethal?
this isn't lethal yet.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know how that came about, but maybe he thought it would scare him into listening to complying to him.
There's times when you pull your gun for intimidation with the potential for threat, like a vehicle stop or something like that. But in this case, you're right. It's not lethal at all. Like, I'm not pulling my gun. I'm not introducing my gun to this fight.
Yeah. So I think now what we have here is you have 4 cops on scene. You've got this guy that's gone through a whole host of less lethal options that hasn't worked. I think the game plan is just, we're going to tackle this dude and fight's on. And hopefully 4 grown adults can gain control of this guy.
It doesn't get to that point though.
It doesn't. So we'll talk about the fatal part of this. And that's when he's now got him at gunpoint. He fires the beanbag rounds at him. That's ineffective. And the dude Elroy just charges at the cop with his gun out. And in the camera, in the body cam view, we can show here, you can see the suspect. It looks like he maybe swipes at the gun or maybe try to grab it. And that's when the deputy, shoots him. I don't know. I mean, at that point, he's got his gun out. He just charged him. He's trying to either swipe the gun away or grab it. His options are pretty limited at that point. I mean, he's almost has to go that route because if Elroy grabs a hold of that firearm, now you're talking, I mean, that's for sure a lethal encounter.
Yeah.
So he fires at him. He goes down. The one deputy who fires the less lethal shotgun, which looks like it's the sergeant on scene, he actually, and you mentioned this, but he throws the less lethal shotgun down and immediately transitions to his firearm and fires one shot at Elroy. Now he could articulate or he could say whatever he wants to say. He's the one that's going to have to say why he fired that round. Who knows? Maybe he thought the guy grabbed his gun, his partner's gun. I don't know, but he does fire that one round. He'll have to explain that. But you said it was almost like a training drill where it was like,
it looked to me just like a training drill. It was just where you practice non-lethal, fire, 2 rounds, 3 rounds, and then it jams or it immediately goes lethal. And then you sling your less lethal, which in this case, it didn't look like he had a sling, so he just tossed it on the ground. And then you immediately go from less lethal to lethal and you make that transition. And typically in training, you make that transition, you pull your firearm and you fire 1 round or 2 rounds, depending on what the course of fire is. And we've talked about this multiple times. I don't agree with giving people the number of rounds to shoot. And in this case, my thought would be that officer's trained sling your less lethal or ditch it, pull your lethal and fire 1 round. And that's, to me, that looked like it was reverted immediately to his training.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I mean, you're not training cops to just, it's not shoot blank amount of rounds. It's shoot until the threat it's no longer a threat.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're trained. Okay. So the shots are fired. We've been talking about this the last couple of these that we've done, but the communication piece of it. So you've got the supervisor on scene yelling shots fired on the radio, no follow-up. The officer who fires his gun, a little bit of time goes by. He's clearly distraught, and we'll play the audio again for you to hear him, but he just randomly gets on the radio and screams shots fired. We are huge advocates and proponents of not just saying shots fired on the radio. I mean, I know these things just happen. Mark and I have been involved in several officer-involved shootings. It is imperative that you voice that, but then follow it up with either all officers are okay, the suspect is down, whatever the scene is, but try to paint a picture so that everybody that's not there knows what's going on. Because when you just say shots fired and you're not the officer on scene, you're going to picture the worst. And we see it way too often in all these videos that we watch. Anytime there's an officer-involved shooting, the first thing cops do is just get on the radio and they just say shots fired. And that's it.
Again, that goes back to a training scar because those officers deployed less lethal. They deployed taser. They deployed OC, taser again, the beanbag, shotgun, and they never got on the radio and immediately said beanbag deployed or taser deployed. Like they never did that until it came to shots fired. And we talk about what you say on the radio dictates what other officers' responses are. In this case, they had asked that other officer what his ETA was, and I think he said it was about 11 minutes.
11 minutes, yeah.
And then they do voice on the radio like they're still trying to detain this suspect. And then they get on the radio and multiple people say shots fired, and that one officer just screams that in the radio. And that, I don't know where that came from in training, but that's a total training scar. We have to train away from that.
Yeah, I think that's the problem is I think in law enforcement, like the radio communication stuff is not trained a whole bunch. No. If it is during scenarios, it's like, all right, just pretend like you're talking on your radio. Like nobody actually talks on their radio to an actual dispatcher and like puts out actual radio traffic in training. It's always like, it's fake. So nobody ever practices it in the first place. I do want to point out, obviously the deputy who fired his rounds, I mean, he just had an intense amount of chemicals and things dumped in his body. And you can see his reaction to that when he starts immediately hyperventilating. He actually starts crying at one point. He's apologetic for what he did. He says he didn't want to have to do that. When we teach our class, I think we do highlight what it's like to be involved in an officer-involved shooting, and that sometimes things like that do happen to cops. And you don't think that it's going to happen to you, but when you just were involved in something like that, it's pretty shocking. And I think it goes to show that mental preparedness is, I think, more important than the physical preparedness of things. I think you need to be able to be mentally prepared to manage and handle those types of situations before you're ever super proficient at even shooting your gun and hitting a target, at a stagnant range with a grouping that big. I think it comes down to mental preparedness. And when you aren't doing those things and you're not thinking these scenarios in your head, you're not, if you're not getting the reps at work because maybe you work at a smaller or slower agency, the training really comes into play in running scenarios in your head and just mentally preparing yourself for stuff like that. It plays a huge role.
I completely agree. In watching him, you're pulling your gun. You have to be in the mindset that you're going to use it or could use it, and you have to be mentally prepared. And you're right. I don't think he was mentally prepared at all. I think he just pulled it, and maybe it's just an intimidation or whatever the fact is. But he did go through those immediate
roller coaster of emotions.
Completely. And I'm glad that there's other officers or deputies there, because I think if it was just him and that suspect, I don't know what would have happened, because he would have broke down and he would have stopped. Like, he may have passed out from hyperventilating. That suspect, there's no medical care would have been provided. That suspect could have came to him.
Yeah, I agree. Like, look,
it's not over.
It's not over. It's not done until it's done. And I do want to point out there was that deputy who immediately runs up to him and he's like trying to get him to breathe. Hats off to that guy, because he he's like trusting his partners to deal with the suspect, and he's immediately recognizes that he's not doing well and tries to bring him down. And then the female deputy also comes over, and they do a really good job of identifying he's not doing very well after that, and trying to get him to calm down and just remove him from the entire situation and go put him in a patrol vehicle. I thought that was like a very appropriate thing to do. And
yeah, he was of the deputies on scene. That officer did the absolute most outstanding work, I believe, is the one that tended to him, because you're right. He did trust them, and he even was like, "Hey, turn around!" Like he immediately recognized, like, "Don't even look in that direction. Turn him around." And he immediately went like, "Hey, calm down. Breathe in, breathe out." He was like so controlled. Like that officer or that deputy is very mentally prepared.
Yeah.
But again, going back to the training portion, the problem with not being mentally prepared is that deputy immediately drew the attention of another deputy away from responsibility. And should that only have been 2 deputies on scene, now that one is if it was just those 2, is now torn between suspect and the officer. And who knows what this officer is going to do? Who knows what the suspect's going to do? And you're making a decision that, how do you even make that decision? That's the mental preparedness that you cannot allow that to happen.
Yeah, I think this video it's a really good video to watch. And if you're sitting in briefing or driving around in your car, like however you're listening or watching to this, like that, I would put yourself in this scenario and go, how would I handle that? And if I had partners on scene, like what would that communication look like? What would your plan look like if you had to deal with this, an individual like this? I mean, it's tough. There would have been no good ending to this regardless. I hate to see that stuff like that happens, but I think with proper training, communication skills, and planning, I think potentially some of this could have been avoided.
Yeah.
And, they could have taken this guy into custody. Would someone may have gotten hurt or banged up? Probably. I think it for sure would have been a fight. But again, when you talk about ground fighting and, how confident are you in those skills, you really got to ask yourself that, because not everybody's going to do what you tell them to do. So this isn't a Monday morning quarterback. We're not casting shade on any of these deputies. It's just like, look, this is real life. Real things like this happen, and people die as a result of it. And if we can get better, or people can get better as a result of watching this stuff and like talking about it, then that's what we're here to do. So
yeah, and I think my final thought on that is why planning is so important. In this situation, they recognized that it was going to be a problem. They immediately went into action, and then was met with resistance and didn't have a plan with that. And then no plan was created, and that's why it's so important. And we did point out our pre-talk on this is that was a huge field. I wasn't concerned about him really going anywhere.
No.
But it's creating a plan or a distraction to take him into custody. And you're right. He's a very large person. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a fight, one that you're going to remember and you're going to share stories with for your entire career. But that's your responsibility. That's your job. That's what the public expects you to be able to do, is make those solid decisions to bring somebody into custody. And this incident didn't turn out that way. And it is pretty tragic for everyone involved.
Everybody. Yeah. So, thanks for tuning in on this video. I know this one's a tough one to watch, but hopefully you gain some value out of it. And you know what? At the end of the day, like, you got to plan for the worst. Don't always plan for what you think is going to be successful. So you already hit on that. So thanks for watching, you guys. We'll tune in on the next one. And side note, this is actually the last time that we will be recording in this studio.
It's kind of hard to sit here because what you don't see behind the camera, a lot of our stuff is gone. We're almost in our new one. It's built out, and it's kind of like a somber moment to be in here. It's just not the same, but it is. We are growing, so we want to thank all of you for being a part of our growth, because we do have a new studio coming. It is rad, and it is way bigger than this.
Yeah, we're super excited to share that with you guys. So we're in the process of building that out. It's almost done. This will be the last episode in here, but we seriously appreciate all of you. Stay safe, stay smart, and we'll catch you guys on the next video.
See ya.